Welcome back to the Venari Podcast. I'm Gold Candola, and we're joined today by Andrea Gurman to kick off a special series that will be focusing on sustainability across the wider transportation and logistics space. Now, Andrea is the SVP for Sustainability at JAS Worldwide. For those of you who don't know, JAS are a leading third-party logistics provider. Andrea, I was going to say welcome and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Gov, for the invitation to the podcast. And yeah, Happy New Year to all.
I know. Hopefully 2024 is a little better or maybe more stable for logistics compared to 2023. But we'll have to see. And I was going to say, in this first episode of the sustainability series, we're going to be learning more about, the current initiatives that JAS are engaged with, along with discussing topics such as regulatory advocacy, along with some future initiatives, that we could expect to see. So to kick us off, Andrea, it would be great to understand more about JAS and obviously some of the current initiatives that you're engaged with when it comes to sustainability.
Of course. Yeah, pleasure. So I started the journey working or implementing sustainability at JAS in 2023, so almost a year in the job. And we really started with groundwork. So that was very exciting for me to really start from scratch and implementing a new sustainability function. So I started by accessing the status quo, my key stakeholders in the organization. So it was really interesting to see what has been implemented, also on a regional and local scale before I joined JAS, and then see the topic evolving throughout the year, and also to see the commitment and also the excitement of the colleagues to work together on this topic. So we really focused on all three ESG dimensions. So starting from the environmental piece, and from my experience, the environmental piece is the biggest challenge for our industry, right? So we are under the four highest emitting industries worldwide. The other ones are, for example, the energy production, industrial production, also agriculture. So we have a very heavy footprint in the logistics and industry, and also responsibility to act towards carbon zero targets. Yeah. And the second pillar, of course, is the social responsibility. So there we have also responsibilities towards human rights, and also towards our employees working in the warehouse, on the ground, right? But also from a training perspective, for example, how do we engage with employees around the topic and make them also part of the sustainability journey, I would say. So it's a lot about corporate culture and also engagement with the ecosystem. And the third pillar, and maybe this is the most concerning for most companies, is really the governance piece. So, we are facing a lot of new ESG regulation worldwide. We're coming from these heavy Fit for 55 regulations in the European Union. But this we also see the scaling of these initiatives in other regions of the world, for example, in the US, and also some LATAM countries nowadays. So we are facing an increasing regulatory compliance demand from the stakeholder. And this is also very relevant investment criteria right now. So when you want to apply for new credits, etc., some banks are already starting to monitor also your ESG performance. And I think this is a development that it's becoming next to the price and also the performance, it's becoming a very relevant criteria for corporations. And this is an increasing demand for companies to comply with these regulations.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the crackdown that we're seeing now, from that governance piece is so important as well to keep businesses accountable. And I was going to say, from a JAS perspective, what are the main challenges the business is facing, in the transition to zero carbon?
Right. So we are a third-party logistics provider. We don't own a lot of assets. Of course, we have own warehouses, and in some countries we also own assets like trucks or vehicles. But the most challenging part is, of course, our main leg for air and ocean freight. We are doing that for customers from all sectors, from the producing industry, for automotive industry, for pharma and healthcare companies, etc. And our customers are pushing us towards fulfilling their carbon zero targets. And we are also need to monitor our suppliers towards their advancement and their innovations. So where do I see the main challenges? Of course, in the air freight piece, there's a shortage of sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. We talk with our suppliers, but this SAF is made out of used cooking oil, and there's just a shortage right now. So we see some industry players, also some shippers are buying big amounts of this SAF, which is of course good because they're pushing also then the supply of SAF, but it takes a while to really build the infrastructure, build the refineries. On the other side, we have the ocean freight. So the biofuel option for ocean freight are, I would say, more widely available, which is good, of course. But also here we see the regulations evolving. So in the European Union, for example, the ETS charges will be implemented 1st of January. So already there. And from there, we also see a natural evolvement of these topics. But for me, the challenge is really also get towards the carbon zero target in the air freight industry until 2050. This will be a challenge because there are no electrical cargo airplanes yet.
No, not yet. Might be quite away from that. But those are some incredibly interesting topics, and obviously we can dive deeper into those as well. There's been a push from government and regulatory bodies to create solutions. But why should companies also engage in regulatory advocacy, do you think?
Yeah, it's important because depending on your risk exposure on this ESG criteria you have, I mean, the first step for you as a company or as a logistics provider is always to assess your ESG risks and opportunities, to do a materiality analysis and to prepare for the changes to come. No? And I think it's important to engage with the countries you operate in, depending on your risk exposure in these countries. No? But we see, for example, in Europe, the industry is already very advanced, I would say. We are more advanced than in other countries where we are probably already still in a pilot stage for sustainability. For some countries we operate in, the topic is really just kicking off right now. So there we can really be advocates. And also, if you haven't studied sustainability, for example, you can still be an advocate for this topic and still be get involved and implement local actions. I think to get started on this topic is very important rather than see it as an super big challenge. No? So for me, it's always important that our colleagues understand how they can make an impact also on a local level, but then also, of course, having the management view, what kind of risks and also opportunities you have as a corporation with this topic. Yeah.
Definitely, because usually it's only the external factors that are discussed in terms of obviously the investment piece, but it's rare that, people discuss actually how a company themselves, how they're kind of coming across with their story, how it's coming across to their peers and how it's sold to wider individuals throughout the business as well. Because it's such an important part, when individuals are joining businesses, they want to understand, what is the company that I'm joining doing, from this perspective, how can I be involved? We're certainly hearing that more as a conversation, from a talent perspective as well. In your opinion, now, given, we've seen huge increases in risk associated with the global supply chain currently, how could the vendors and supplier relationship, help mitigate these risks, especially when it comes to, let's say, human rights issues? You mentioned it briefly, that social piece.
Right. So we are working on a third-party vendor management system to get really our suppliers on board for this topic. There are various human rights due diligence laws already in place, for example, in Germany and other countries, and there are more to come. And also the European Union is working on a regulation for the whole EU right now. So we only see this topic of human rights evolving, and we also see a lot of companies associated with these risks, especially the producing industry. And here I think it's important to have a clear due diligence process with your suppliers, sequencing the suppliers, start with the top risk and spend suppliers and then go down your own supply chain is critical. There are, I think, great tools out there that also kind of continuously monitor those risks. And if you find out something, you need to audit these suppliers and then also discuss it with them. It's always been easy to make business in the logistics industry, but these new regulations kind of pose new challenges also to us as logistics companies. And I think this is a journey we cannot solve alone. It's like really we need to onboard our suppliers, but also have a close communication with our customer. Involving the whole ecosystem is really essential going forward.
Definitely. Having a more open conversation is key. I couldn't have said it better myself. I was going to say, from an executive search standpoint, sustainability is at the forefront of so many conversations we've had over the past couple of years. There's a looming talent gap for businesses looking to scale teams or even create teams who have a focus within sustainability. I was going to say, have JAS, faced similar challenges?
For me, it was a great challenge and opportunity to build this function for JAS, and it's still evolving, I would say. So the company was very excited. I was able to build a small but very powerful team of internal and external resources. But for me, it was always the goal to also get accountability from my key stakeholders in the company, right? So from the leaders of the business units, from the sales and financial teams, I have daily or weekly conversations with. Otherwise, you will be like a function that is not very powerful from my experience. So really have this management intention and also develop solutions yourself. So have like an entrepreneurial mindset, and when you start then this whole journey yourself, you have to really have your feet on the ground, and implementing things and building things is like my passion. And I think it was very well received in the first year, and there's much more to come.
I can imagine there's so many now dotted lines that come out of sustainability that go to ops, commercial, strategic plays. It's going to be incredibly important. I was going to say, finally, for JAS, what are the future initiatives we can expect to see?
Yeah, so we definitely want to scale our green solutions going forward. So we started already with a cooperation in the industry with a provider for biofuels. So we have already implemented our own solution. So we really want to focus more on this sustainable solution and commercial approach, also educating our customers more about the topic. So this is very exciting for me, also like consulting our customers and building business cases for them and with them to make the topic more tangible and also to strengthen our partnership. I think this is one important initiative we will build up on. Another initiative is, as mentioned before, the vendor management piece. I think there we can do much more overall in our industry, because this partnership approach should go in both directions. So not only focusing on one or two major customers, but also focusing really on the suppliers and on the future relevant topics. Very exciting topic for me personally. We have family-owned business, so we have our shareholder initiated before COVID already the Bruni Foundation. This is like the family foundation. So we in 2024, so this year, we're going to kick off our Pay It Forward program. So we allowed our employees to suggest their own corporate volunteering projects in their local community. And we have over 60 projects that we will be implementing throughout the year, going from planting trees, helping in the community, helping children, educational assistance. So this is very exciting for me, because there we can make a real social impact in our 5 regions globally, and that's what it's all about, I think.
Definitely, that collaborative feel is so key, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about what's happening with JAS. And obviously on your side, I know you're very active via LinkedIn and on the website as well. So if people do want to kind of understand and learn a bit more about JAS, I think definitely look you up and kind of learn a bit more. But yeah, look, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to kind of give us a bit more of an insight. And yeah, thank you for being part of the series.
Thank you so much, Gov. And yeah, Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year indeed.